Good afternoon to you all. I have received requests from some of the students preparing for 2021 Ghana School of Law entrance examination that they would like assistance to be provided regarding how questions are answered. So this afternoon, I propose to give some guidelines on how to answer essay type question. And the emphasis is essay type question. I will do another session in which I will speak about problem-based type question. So in the law school entrance examination, you may be given an essay type question. An essay type question may, for example, invite you to do one of the following: discuss something, or comment on something, or critically discuss, or you may be invited to write a legal memo, or you are invited to write a presentation. It may take any of these forms or permutations. One thing I would like you to remember is that when it comes to essay type question in examination, the purpose of the examiner oftentimes is to test your depth and breadth in terms of knowledge of the particular area. How deep do you understand the particular topic or the particular area of law which is being examined in the essay? And more so, how the law has developed, historically, along historical path or trajectory. So for example, if you are asked to discuss, a particular, let me give you an example that discuss areas of Ghana's constitution which are in need of reform. I'm not saying there's any question like that, but I'm just providing that as a basis of having something for us to discuss. Now, if you have a question like that, you have to remember that the question essentially is an invitation for you to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding of where the constitution has come from up to date. So some sort of like the contemporary historical appreciation, right, of the 1992 constitution, as it were. In addition to pinpointing particular problem areas demonstrated by either constitutional litigation or certain political happenings in our national life. Having said that, it bears emphasis to state that any type of essay question must have a clear structure. It must have a clear structure in the sense that the response of the candidate should not be haphazard. It's not enough for you to have the material which speaks to the particular question. It's not enough for you to just put everything there and expect the examiner to pick and choose what he or she likes. No, that is not. So you need to have a structure. The answer should be coherently structured. There should be logical presentation of ideas in every essay type question. So every essay type question, regardless of the type, whether you are invited to discuss something, you're invited to comment on something, you're invited to evaluate, or you've even been asked to do what they call a legal memo, right? Or you'll be asked to do a presentation. It must have a structure. And the structure typically has got, if you like, the three key aspects. First, there must be introduction. Secondly, we have the body. And finally, we have conclusion. Now, within each of these three components, we can have another sort of like a structure. Let's say introduction. The introduction of the essay is supposed to serve a number of purposes. To begin with, the introduction of your essay should let you, or should give opportunity for you to demonstrate to the examiner of your understanding of the task which the question is asking you to do. So the essay is supposed to demonstrate how you understand the task that you are invited to, the introduction, how the task that you are invited to do. So that is one. And two, you are also required within the introduction to give a roadmap, right? If I say a roadmap, to give us a sense of the path you are going to follow in the answer. So that's the roadmap. So after letting us understand what is really at stake, what you're invited to do, then you tell us what you propose to do, right? What you propose to do in the subsequent aspect of the answer. So that is like the roadmap, so that if your introduction is read, the examiner is quite clear in his mind that this particular candidate knows very well what he or she has been invited to do. Good. Now, after the good introduction, and let me emphasize again that please put a bit more effort in the introduction, because as is often said that first impression is everything. First impression is everything means that if the one marking your script reads the few sentences and he gets a very negative impression towards your effort, psychologically, it's going to affect his disposition towards engagement of the rest of your answer. Unless you're able to do something really fantastic to dispel that earlier negative impression he had formed about you. So please, don't take the introduction as just a formality. No, introduction is important. And in fact, if you get a marker who is stressed out, he may probably just read your introduction and jump to look at the concluding part and form an impression about you. Don't forget that markers are under pressure, right, to finish their marking and all that. So you need to catch their attention, and catching the attention means that pay attention to your introduction. So just to recap, the introduction, you're supposed to do, if you like, two main things. First, the introduction is supposed to enable you to let the examiner appreciate that you understand what the question is inviting you to do. Two, the introduction is providing opportunity for you to give a structure to the rest of your answer. What we call like the roadmap, what you propose to do. Good. Now we come to the body. I'm not saying that go and write a body and then say that I'm developing the, no, not that. I mean, that is the rest of the answer minus the conclusion. That's what I call like the body. And that is where you are going to develop the ideas which you have hinted in the introduction are the things that you are going to do. So for the body of the answer, my advice is that you must still have coherence. And having coherence means that you must do proper paragraphing. One point one paragraph. One main idea, one paragraph, right? So that is very important. And if it's an essay, for example, if you are doing a discussion, you are supposed to really let it appear as such. And what that means is that you are required to be balanced, because discussion, for example, will require that you are looking at the both aspects of an issue or a matter. So that's what we mean. It's a form of an aspect of, if you like, an exercise in evaluation, if you like. So you need to be balanced. So each point you discuss, there may be other perspective on that point. So a good discussion will have to bring all those point of view or those perspectives to the fore, so that he or she will also probably demonstrate like his preference or his own position on the particular matter. So that is important. But fundamentally, you have to do paragraphing. And paragraphing, what we learned from our elementary school or secondary school is that one main idea, one paragraph. And then you also have to pay attention to what they call like certain like the connectors, paragraph, certain words which allow one paragraph to flow neatly into other. So that is important. And again, yeah, so that will do like for the body in terms of the structure and then the coherence. Then we have conclusion. When we say conclusion, it is the segment of your essay which is trying to summarize the key argument that you have made, and also pull everything together to provide a direct answer to the question. So for example, if we are talking about what I said, that discuss areas of 1992 Constitution which are in need of reform and things like that. So having done all your discussion and everything, you are then in a position to be confident, right? As whether, as a matter of fact, there are areas of the Constitution which are in need of reform. And if it is so, what have you essentially said and needs to be done? And then you bring them together. Now, sometimes so, as part of the conclusion, there may also be an effort to do recommendation based upon the particular type of question that you did. Yeah, so that is how we have to approach essay question. And as I said, whether it's like discuss or comment or elucidate, explain, critically analyze, and all that, you must pay attention to structure. Now, I would like to say a few more words about writing a legal memo, since it's featured in one or two past questions as far as the Ghana School of Law and Examination is concerned. And some students are so fixated about it that when we say writing a legal memo, what does it mean? What I will say is that we know that you have only finished Bachelor of Laws degree. And in fact, the examinable subjects, constitutional law, Ghana legal system, law of contract, law of tort, criminal law, and land law, which you have been given as the examinable areas, are even an eloquent testimony to the fact that the candidates of these exams are known to be only graduates of Bachelor of Laws. And that being the case, we know that you have not learned legal drafting, right? So listen to this well. Those of you who are so fixated about certain words which are introduced by the examiner, thinking that you are supposed to do something extraordinary, different from what is expected of a LLB graduate. Take this from me. You haven't done legal drafting, right? You haven't done legal drafting, you haven't done conveyancing, and so on. So where you see drafting of a legal memo or do a legal memo, let's say do a legal memo do a legal memo to, let's say, Parliament, right? Concerning the promotion of a proper human sexual rights bill or something like that. Or do a legal memo to the Law Reform Commission concerning certain contractual practices which need to be legislated in a proposed Unfair Contract Terms Act or things like that. I'm just saying this just as an example. Now, if you are asked to do a legal memo, don't be scared, right? And the word is don't be scared, don't be intimidated. There's no room for trepidation as far as invitation to do legal memo is concerned. What you should remember is that the legal memo definitely, you can just do it like you can have a heading, legal memo, right? Assuming that is what the question said. So that is your legal memo. Underneath that, you have from who? Of course, you are not supposed to write your name. So that's against the examination rules. So maybe your legal intent or whatever. That is what the question probably may say. So from a legal intent or from whoever, let's say to, if it's Parliament, to a Clerk of Parliament or Speaker of Parliament, and then you must have like a subject, right? You must have like a subject or re, either re or instead of re means the RE. Or instead of saying re, you can just say like a subject, then colon. Some suggestions concerning the pending whatever bill, something like that, or that is your heading. Then underneath, it's still an essay. So you must have introduction. So the introduction, you declare your understanding and also what do you call like the purpose. What is the purpose of writing that memo? What is the purpose? So that will form part of the introduction. And after declaration of the purpose in the introduction, you also give a roadmap, what you hope to do in the memo, the points that you want to canvass and things like that. And each point will have to be given like a paragraph or 2 paragraphs, then you develop them, right? Then when you are done, you must have conclusion. So the conclusion, you just pull everything together and then you just try to be persuasive because you're trying to sell your ideas to whoever you've been asked to send the memo to. So that is what you should pay attention to. Maybe 1 or 2 things I'll touch on before I end this session has to do with the use of legal authority in writing essay questions. How do we use legal authority in writing essay questions? Now, if you are writing an essay question and you need to cite case law, or you need to cite provision of the Constitution or provision of a statute as it will, all the time, you have to remember that it is better to state the proposition of law, like you state the particular principle that you want to expatiate, or the particular point which you are trying to emphasize. You state it, and then you indicate the particular source, either the case law or provision of the Constitution or an act of Parliament. Or if you can start according to sections so and so and so and so, and so on, or the law as stated in the case of so and so and so, or the law stated in this so and so is that, then you move on. Yeah, and I will advise that in order to enhance clarity, right? Clarity, for purposes of your examiner or your markers who are working under pressure and all that, I would advise that when you do you provide like the authorities, okay, endeavor to let them be written well and also underline them, right? Underline the authorities. The reason for emphasizing that they should be underlined is that should you get a marker who is stressed, you read your introduction, you run his eyes through the body of your essay, and he'll be fishing out for some of the key authorities that are needed for discussion of that essay. And then you look at your conclusion, then he or she is able to form an impression on your answer. And that is why you should not let your authorities stated in your answer be obscure. Let them be conspicuous, okay? Let them stand out, yeah. Then the other advice I wanted to give has to do with the writing. Please, I'm not saying that you should be artistic in your writing. Be legible. There's no point in having, rich answer which cannot be read. If it cannot be read, it means that your answer is not accessible to readers. And if it's not accessible to readers, you don't get the credit. So please make effort to let your handwriting be legible. Let it be clear. If you are the type who struggles with, let's say, proper handwriting, like some of us, then what I would advise is that reasonably space out your writing so that it's clear, it's very easy to read, rather than just cram everything together. So that is one. And again, if you make a mistake and you need to cross out, just cross out one. Don't dip in, right? Don't dip in. Just cross out one, that is fine. Now, language. I want to comment on language again. Please, let's pay attention to language, especially when we are doing the essay, because this examination is what we call the elimination examination. Elimination examination in the sense that all the students who are writing have Bachelor of Laws. So technically, you are all qualified to proceed to do the professional legal education. But the truth of the matter is that the Board of Legal Education does not have luxury of resources, space, teaching personnel, and all that to ensure quality teaching and learning at the professional level. That is why they need to take what they can take. So who are we taking and who are we leaving out? Then we provide you an equal opportunity. But if you give a reason for you to be excluded easily, then that will be your own fault. And one of such is poor language, poor construction, unpardonable grammatical slips or errors. Please pay attention to that. So you have to know that everything you are writing is being tested, is being assessed. So pay attention to that. If you have all the points which are needed in the marking scheme, and you have used a very poor language to develop them, you are not going to get the marks, and your examiner could even be somehow scandalized, having regard to the fact that you are someone who is supposed to have gone through 3 years or 4 years legal education, and you have been certified as having Bachelor of Laws. And if you cannot use standard English to convey your ideas, then that will be very bad. So these are some of the thoughts I wanted to share with you as far as dealing with essay type question is concerned in this examination. So as I always do, I'm very happy to take more questions when we meet in class. So have a very good afternoon, and then we have our night sessions. Thank you very much.